Good evening, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. It is 6 p.m. We do have a quorum present, so I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District. The meeting has been properly warned and the packet has been sent to all commissioners and posted for the public. First item on the agenda is the agenda itself. Are there any requests for changes or additions to the agenda? There will be two items on under other business, but Sarah, your hand is up. Is that what you wanted to refer to?
It was, thank you.
First item on under other business will be scheduling the budget hearing. Sarah sent out an email earlier this afternoon. We'll be taking that up to schedule the budget hearing, and also then there'll be another informational item that Paul Stabler would like to bring up at that time as well. Are there other additions or changes to the agenda as presented?
Is this the time if you have a question on the consent agenda to raise it now or later?
We'll get that to the consent. We'll be there in a moment, I think.
Okay.
If there are no other requests for changes or additions to the agenda, we'll follow it as presented in the board packet, the notation of two other business items. Before we get to business, I just wanted to introduce Kathy Zhao. She's been here before. She is standing in for Thomas, who is in a warmer place, learning how to sail, but she's here as our counsel tonight, so.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
Just so you know who she is, and especially for folks who are joining us remotely. Next item on the agenda is the public comment period. Are there any members of the public present via phone or Zoom who wish to address the Board of Commissioners? I can state for the record, there are no members of the public present at the CSWD offices.
There are no members of the public present on Zoom either.
Thank you very much. Hearing that there are no members of the present public, we will close the public comment period and move on to the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the December 17th, 2025 board meeting, program update memos, finance memos, the executive director update, and a legislative bill tracker. Is there any requests for items to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Leslie, or a question?
I just have a question on something in the financial reports. It's just a question.
Go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so this is for John. On your December 30th memo, you have a table with fund balances and allocated cash. Could you just define allocated cash?
Sure, so all I'm doing is taking the total cash on hand and applying it or allocating it to some of the funds. That's my attempt to sort of show the connection between those fund balances and the cash that we have on hand. And I do a little calculation to come up with our total reserves.
But the total for allocated cash is different from the fund balances.
That's right.
Does that have to do with the budget or?
So what that means is if all of those funds were the funds that we talk about, right? The biosolid fund, the debt service fund, if all of those things came due, quote unquote, we don't have enough cash to cover them all at once. We do have cash to cover the most critical items. You'll notice that the MRF Project Capital Fund, on the balance sheet, we've got 4.2 million in the fund, but when we start allocating out the cash, I kind of do it in reverse order. I allocate to the restricted stuff and then the operating and the administrative stuff. And so as the funds are less sort of urgent or liquid, or might have we might need that money sooner, or it belongs to someone else, like the case of the biosolids funds, what's left over is the MRF Capital Project Fund. This is a direct result of the ACR being $72 at the MRF, and volumes coming down, so some of our fees are running.
No, okay, I just didn't understand the table.
Just trying to apply the cash to the fund so we can identify where there might be a potential shortfall.
So the cash on hand as of December 30th was 11,132. Okay, then I understand.
And then those funds really are there really is a distribution of equity
Yeah, no, I understand that.
All right, we're in the midst of the
Very good.
consent agenda. Hopefully, I don't want to pull it out, but if we're going a
No,
little bit
that's it.
further, then I
I'm
think
done.
it's okay, thanks, I
Thank you.
appreciate asking the question and the answer. So that was a clarifying question on an item in the consent agenda. Any other requests to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion or action? Hearing none, then the consent agenda will be accepted as presented in the board packet. We are now ready to move on to item number 4, Material Recovery Facility Project Contracts. This is item 4 on the agenda, and there are several detailed memos in the board packet, but I'll turn it over to Sarah or Josh at this point for pick up the discussion.
Yes, I'll turn that over to Josh to lead the next 3 items.
So agenda 4A is 3-phase power upgrade for the new MRF project. So this is the entire balance of the project was for a transformer as well as 3-phase power to extend that from where it currently ends on Redmond Road down by the organics recycling facility and extend that down to where the new MRF site will be. Due to some time pressures, we had Green Mountain Power carve out the transformer and brought that to the executive board last week. So this represents the balance of that project, which is essentially the labor and then the materials for the new poles and then the added cable to bring the 3-phase power down the end of the road, which is essential to running our new MRF to have 3-phase power, because there's only single-phase power in that spot right now. So that's what this initial resolution is for. This is an expected cost that came up, and this gets the ball rolling on Green Mountain Power scheduling that work.
And
Go ahead.
I'd just add, last week, the reason it was relatively urgent for the exec board to approve the transformer was because Green Mountain Power only had one in stock. And I believe you said it could be up to 18 months
Yeah.
if we didn't get that.
Yeah, lead time on the
18
transformer
months
is
delay.
significant.
So,
Yeah.
just thought that's informative.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
So we've locked in the equipment, and this is the
Yeah.
next phase. and,
Yep. Yeah, this,
So-
this is the working portion of that contract.
So can we have a motion to approve the resolution, then we can open up for any
So
other
moved.
questions or comments?
Jericho?
Seconded, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the contract for the 3-phase power for the sum total of, I believe, I'm not sure what the sum total is. Can you just clarify?
Sure.
Paul, there is a resolution in the packet. I can read into the record if you like.
Okay, please, I can't find it quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Be it resolved that the executive board this should actually read that the board. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the executive director to finalize the agreement with Green Mountain Power for the remainder of the 3-phase power upgrades to be completed by Green Mountain Power for an amount not to exceed $80,722.
Thank you. Can we just reconfirm that?
So moved, Jericho.
And I agree.
Great, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for the 3-phase power. Any discussion on the motion? Any questions?
Oh, just one question. So on the invoice, it says $80,721.20. The resolution is just kind of rounded up, the not to exceed.
There was a question from Green Mountain Power as to the finality of the dollar amount, so we rounded up so that if there was a change to the official number, that we would capture that by saying not to exceed. So we would just round it up to the nearest
The
dollar.
80 cents.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that within that 80 cents will be the final invoice number from Green Mountain Power.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions or discussion on the motion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries for the 3-phase extension. We'll move on to then item number 4B, which is the approval of the fire Rover contract.
So this is, I believe the fire rover has been discussed in this forum previously. So we received the variance from the State Division of Fire Safety. And this represents the entering into the contract with Fire Rover for protection services of our tip floor and bale storage of the new MRF. As an aside, as part of this conversation, I will say that one of the side benefits of going to the Fire Rover, besides sort of 24-hour coverage for our facility, is that we received confirmation last week that it'll also allow us to remove the need for a fire pump in our new MRF, which was a significant cost. And so it's sort of an added benefit to moving towards this system. It's a win-win for us in a long-standing of few wins. It's a win-win, which is very nice. And so this is just to enter into the contract with Fire Rover. So this represents the system purchase price in addition to the monthly monitoring fee for Fire Rover to be monitoring 24 hours a day of the new facility. And obviously that monitoring fee will start when the new MRF is commissioned and we have something to protect.
Thank you. I thought your memo outlined the technology and how this will all work. Explained it very well.
You know, I'll give a shout out. Many times, a lot of my work is initiated by Kaylee Barber, who is our construction project manager. She put together most of this memo because she's in it day to day. That's her role, is managing the MRF project right now. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't have that opportunity to mention Kaylee, because she's behind the scenes on all of this for sure.
Tom, your hand is up.
Yeah, I have a question. If we're going with a Fire Rover rather than a sprinkler system, will that lower our insurance rates?
It's a conversation that I've been trying to have with the VLCT. I think there's an argument to be made there. The one challenge that we will face is that given our municipal status and VLCT's already low rates, we have a very low rate compared to most folks that insure materials recovery facilities. And so we will have that conversation. They do not know about the Fire Rover system. We were waiting for the variance to present that to them. But we'll present that to them and see if there's any movement on the coverage of that facility.
And I also had a comment on the resolution that's in the board packet, that the termination date needs to be corrected.
Yes.
The termination year.
Yes, thank you, Tom. We did catch that before or after the packet went out. The termination date will not be January 30/31, it'll be January of 2031.
Quite the commitment.
Yes. Not 1,005 years.
Josh, I may want to also clarify that the Fire Rover will be monitoring the tip floor and the bale storage floor. There will still be traditional sprinkler system throughout the rest of the facility.
I have preliminary questions, if we could have a motion read into the record. And
I have a resolution, Paul. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the Executive Director to enter into a master services agreement with Fire Rover LLC of Farmington Hills, Michigan, for an amount not to exceed $299,500 for the system purchase price and a monthly monitoring service fee of $4,750 plus $200 per month 4G backup once the system is operational, commencing January 2026 until January 2031, with the district's option to renew the contract under the same terms and conditions and with the vendor's mutual consent for 1-year periods.
So moved, Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we authorize the Executive Director to enter into a master services agreement with Fire Rover LLC for a Fire Rover system for the new MRF. Questions, comments? Leslie?
How does this cost compare to the original budget for fire suppression?
It is roughly the same, if not a little lower, because obviously all of that sprinkler infrastructure came out of those two areas that the fire rover is covering. And so we know we no longer have the fixed sprinklers in those areas. So we reduced the total coverage of those two areas. And so the infrastructure costs are roughly the same, if not a little cheaper with the fire rover. But obviously, once you take out the fire pump, which we didn't end up getting a full price, but is to the tune of $200,000, the price drops significantly when you factor that in.
Thank you.
Tom, your hand is still up. I don't know if that's a holdover. You got a new question. Any other questions or discussion on the motion to approve the fire rover contract? Hearing no questions, then all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is approved, and we authorize the executive director to enter into a master services agreement with Fire Rover LLC. Great, thank you very much.
Agenda 4C, last MRF specific agenda for the evening is prime contract potential change order number 2. So these are change orders initiated by REARC, who's our general contractor. So similar to the change order that you approved last meeting, which was for the water line, the on-site water line. This change order is for winter conditions increase. So essentially, SD Ireland says you were supposed to pour in the fall when it was warmer out, and that's when we bid our price. It is now, averaging 10 degrees and the ground is frozen and you can't pour concrete when it's frozen. Here is the dollar amount that it's gonna cost us to heat the ground and keep it warm using tenting and ground heaters, so that we can keep your project on schedule. I will shout out REARC here. I know they went back and forth. They certainly have some buying power with SD Ireland. I saw the initial number and you can see what the ultimate number is. I think they did a good job representing us as far as those negotiations were concerned. So this represents the sort of the equipment usage as well as the increased labor for the slow going that happens in the wintertime when you're pouring concrete. So that's what this change order request is for.
Seeing no preliminary questions, so then we'll go ahead and have a reading of a resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the CSWD Board of Commissioners hereby approves the district's executive director to execute PCO number 002 in the amount of $316,250 for purposes of reimbursing SD Ireland for additional costs due to winter weather conditions.
Moved Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we authorize the executive director to execute PCO number 002 for reimbursing SD Ireland for additional costs of construction related to the new materials recovery facility due to winter conditions. Any discussion on the motion? Leslie?
I just want to say from the outset, I will vote in favor of this, but I'm a little bit concerned that I believe the board needs to see an updated budget with expenditures over time, because like any huge capital project, you're never gonna be where you thought you were gonna be when you first did the budget. And I think it's long past time that we really saw an update as to how it looks currently compared to what we thought originally and approved originally. And I mean, this was clearly unavoidable, so I would support it, but I am getting concerned now that particularly with two, $500,000 on the table just tonight, the board really needs some information.
Yeah, Kaylee and I
where
can
we're
work
at.
on something for next.
Pardon me?
Kaylee and I can work on something for next
That would be
Next meeting.
great.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And I think I just wanted to clarify, I think you were referring to the items that we just approved. You mentioned 500.
No, I'm saying in general,
Overall project
the whole
update.
project.
Yeah.
We need to look at the original budget and timeline and the new
Well, I was more.
estimate, if you will.
Yeah.
And timeline.
Yep, understood.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much, Leslie. But request. Other comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I think we're ready then to vote on it. All those in favor of approving the resolution to allow the executive director to execute a change order in the amount of $316,250 due to weather conditions on the new MRF, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Josh. And Kaylee, please express
Will
our
do.
appreciation to the work that she's doing behind the
Absolutely.
scenes.
Thank you.
We are moving along at a very good pace here, and we are now ready to go to item number 5, Delegation of Authority, which is background memo is in the packet and draft of the Delegation Authority. At this point, I think, Sarah, you turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. And I want to point out that the Delegation Authority memo was the same one from last month, which is why it does say at the bottom that there would be no action required or requested, but there is action requested at this time with this new draft. So the draft included in the packet was also reviewed at the executive board last week. And so I would invite them to share some of their feedback with the full group as well. And again, as we heard from last month's discussion, that this seems to be a prudent direction for the board to go into, both for clarification and just clarity in general for current board, future boards, current executive director, future executive directors. And that this is a document that should be revisited from time to time as the board sees fit. It should be considered to be a somewhat of a living document. So this is, again, this was a draft. This was drafted with Thomas Maloney, and he modeled it after the draft that I sent him from, I believe it was the University of Indiana Board of Trustees, and then also from other Chittenden County municipalities that have similar delegation authorities in place. So I would, at this time, point you to the second page, so it's page 52 on the PDF in the second page, which then outlines the different delegations that the board would look at and would agree to delegate to the position of executive director. And then on page 53 of the PDF, it has the limitations of that delegation. So there are certain areas where the board should not, whether it's for good business practices, good governance practices, or per the charter, delegate certain of its authorities. And those items are also listed out in the resolution. And you can see there's a longer list of things that you need to keep versus things that you can delegate. And I think that is appropriate. That last page would be, again, just saying that, the resolution may be amended from time to time, and that it doesn't alter the contract that the board engages in with the executive director, just making note that this is, again, a clarifying document. Paul, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about some of the areas that the executive board discussed, or do you want to open it up to the board for other comments or questions?
Open up a minute. I just wanted to jump in for one point of clarification. I'm not sure the page number, but on those items limited where the authority is not granted to the executive director, item number 14 approval of any plan of layoff or reduction in force involving more than 15% of the district. And there's a footnote there saying that this 15% is included as an example. I think we need to clarify if that's what the recommendation is, or if we can open it up for another percentage. But I want to clarify that we're not approving an example. We'll ultimately approve, hopefully, a solid percentage or number. Can you address that, Sarah?
Yep, that makes sense.
Well, I'm asking, you're endorsing the 15%?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said, did that make sense? So 15%, so we have roughly 60 employees. 15% is, around 10. I think that's a significant number. And I'm comfortable with that. If you would be comfortable with fewer than that, 10% is, again, we'd be looking at only 6 folks. But
Well, at this point, I just wanted to clarify what your recommendation is, then I'm gonna entertain a motion, and then we can get into a debate about, or if there is any question about what that percentage should be.
yeah, I feel like 15% is certainly a significant number for a team our size.
Okay, so we'll take the 15% as the starting proposal number.
My understanding is there is no resolution. It said no action. This is just for a discussion,
She
right?
said it was.
That was in, she's referring to, Sarah pointed out, it was the December 10th memo, I can't remember the exact date. And that was the one point of clarification that, in that memo, that no longer applies, that we are being asked to address this tonight.
Oh,
The agenda has warrant action, and as Paul mentioned, I said that I included the December memo for information, but pointed out that we would be asking for action tonight.
okay, that was just a little bit confusing because I didn't see,
Yeah, the requested action is to approve the resolution.
And the resolution begins on
where
page.
is the resolution?
So the resolution is the second page of the draft document, Leslie, and it's on page 52 of the PDF. It starts, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the district as follows, and then it lists out all of the delegation of duties, and it lists out it's inclusive of the limitations on the delegation. So the entire 2 pages,
I gotcha. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Without having to read the entire resolution, but it is presented in the board packet with a clarification of the percentage. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moves up Burlington.
Second, Westford.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolutions on delegation of authority. We'll open it up for questions and comments. Yeah, Leslie,
Sorry.
that's fine.
Item number 4, under delegation of duties. I gather from Sarah's report, this was discussed at the executive committee, and this concerns me. I think typically something like setting tipping fees, rates and charges for services, if there's going to be a change, normally I think would come to the board, because this is our public facing, is an important part of our public facing action. And simply allowing an executive director to do that without coming back to the board, to me, is very troubling. And then so I have another question. If, as a board member, I'm comfortable with most of it, but not all of it, does that mean I have to vote against the entire resolution?
Or you could propose an amendment to the resolution, I believe, and we would discuss and debate that.
Okay, well, I'd
that
like to
amendment.
hear from the executive committee why they felt it appropriate to include this.
At first ask Sarah, this did come up, a specific question. I think she has some specific responses that would help inform us, and then I have at least one comment or observation.
Right, thank you. Yeah, so this was discussed quite a bit at the executive committee level. And one of really the main reason that I asked Thomas to include this language was because fairly frequently, and particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, we have experienced increases from our vendors mid-year and sometimes several times a year. And we have had to either absorb the extra cost or have had to pass that on to our customers. Sometimes it's as small as another $1 or $2 at a drop-off center for mattresses, say, or it could be quite large when, for example, we a few years ago had to change the tip fee mid-year twice. I believe there was one year we had to change it twice mid-year. So the thought was to be able to have that flexibility to be able to respond to those vendor increases. For example, we just recently received notice of an increase to our vendor who handles our shredded paper and hardcover books at our drop-off centers, where they now need to charge us for the service, and that had not been factored into our budget. Because the fees are currently part of the annual budget, changing fees could be seen or read to necessitate a change to the approved budget. We've never had to recast a budget before, and I don't know that we've ever had to go back to our member cities and towns to ask for them to reauthorize a budget once it's been passed, certainly not within a fiscal year. So in talking this through the executive committee, the executive board, I thought one potential approach to kind of getting at perhaps a happy medium for both would be to pull out the fees from the budget, in essence. I mean, the budget will reflect the needed fees, but to create a standalone fee schedule and have you approve that fee schedule, and then the budget would feed off of that. If we needed to come back and change fees on the fee schedule, it would be with the goal of always maintaining and achieving the budget expectations. So, you know, for example, on that line item of the hardcover books, if we were showing 0 revenue, 0 expense because they were, you know, taking them for us at no charge, and now there was an expense, we would have to do an evaluation regarding, do we have enough extra in the budget currently to absorb that expense, or do we pass that on as a pass-through to our customers? In that sense, we would then, under this new scenario, come back to you with a proposed change to the fee schedule to be able to take effect at such time as you would authorize. So that was kind of my pitch to perhaps try to get at both some nimbleness outside of the main budget, but also to make sure that the board has an official look and understanding of any changes to any fees.
Well, I think the idea of creating a fee schedule outside of the budget is a great idea. It's good for transparency, it's good for checking in, but I don't see why, if that's the thinking, and the fee schedule has to be changed mid-year to deal with a vendor change, why that can't come back to the board. I mean, to me, why that has to be exclusive to the executive director.
No, I'm saying, Leslie, that it would come back to the board. So this would
But
be
this language doesn't have that.
No, because we're changing it tonight. We're proposing changing it tonight. So this was the original draft.
I see.
And so the executive board had similar, almost word for word concerns that you were expressing. And so in the meeting at the executive board level, I proposed a fee schedule. Because this was the original language, we thought, let's bring the original draft language to the full board and see if there's concurrence with the concern. If there was not the same concern, then it is certainly more flexible for an executive director and the team to be able to have the authority to set those fees and rates and to adjust as conditions warrant to be able to achieve budget goals. But that was not the sense of the exec board, and you have expressed a similar concern.
So does the executive board have a proposed amendment for this language?
We did not develop specific language, we endorsed the idea, but
Okay, so we have to figure out hypothetically, anyone like who might be concerned about this language has to come up with an amendment now, right? That's your advice?
yes, I would say that is, yes.
Okay, and then I just have one more question on this, I'm sorry, on number 8. Wait a minute, sorry, number 7. Number 7, just for clarity, applies only to those employees appointed by the executive director. And that means just the management team? I mean,
No,
an ordinary hire appointed by the executive director? What does that mean?
yes, I am responsible for hiring all employees of the district. The word appoint is coming from the charter. So in this instance, it's authority to appoint, which would also mean hire.
Okay, I don't have a lot of problem, I just didn't understand what the purview was, but I do have this concern about item 4. Let's see if anybody else has comments before I propose an amendment.
Proposed, good, I'm glad you're ready with some language.
So I'm gonna ask Mr. Nye to go back in memory. I could swear that many years ago, we had a similar discussion regarding the fees and recognizing that they could be kind of volatile, at least the MRF fees, tip fees. We did grant that authority to the executive director.
Long discussions, yes, we did.
Yeah, so
I think it's there, I think that's the last that has been approved.
right. So I believe that we had carved this out for the executive director a long time ago to allow the ED to make changes should the need arise based on current conditions at the MRF, for instance. So that's what I recall, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what year that we had that discussion.
Yeah, I did some looking, and I looked back through 2013, but I wasn't able to find it at that point, and so it may well be prior to 2013.
Could be, it was a long time ago.
Just for benefit of clarification for all the board of commissioners, we're talking about the tip fees, which are fees that say the MRF or the ODF, but not the solid waste management fee that is assessed at Coventry, which is specifically carved out further in this resolution.
But correct me if I'm wrong, when the finance committee meets to work on the budget, don't they, as part of the deliberations, discuss changes in the tip fee? I seem to,
Certainly that comes up as an item for
Yes.
discussion.
yes, so if in the course of producing the budget, the finance committee presumably has the right to change the tip fees in the course of producing the budget, then it has not been fully delegated to the executive directors. And the committee of the board is making changes to the tip fee. And so when the budget is presented to the board is implicitly approving the tip fee. So this, just saying, well, we made the change and we'd already delegated to the executive director, it seems like we haven't fully delegated it to the executive director because the board is involved in that discussion in the form of the finance committee.
Those were changed, the thing that's there is the changes during the fiscal year that need to be made were delegated to the executive director. So that if, for example,
Right,
so if we needed to raise the fee at the MRF 50 cents, that was given to the executive director during the budget year, not at the start of the year. At the start of the year, it would be the finance committee that would come forward to the rest of the full board with their recommendations. But if something occurred during the year that caused the rates to go up, then the executive director had that capability.
So with that point of clarification, I'm gonna go back to the language. A little bit leery of wordsmithing, but the current wording of section 4 says the executive director shall have the authority to set tipping fees. Perhaps the better word from set would be adjust tipping fees. Because I think what we're establishing here is that the board sets the tipping fee when it approves the budget, but grant the executive director the opportunity to adjust that fee
And it's only for the
within that
remainder,
current budget
it's only
year.
for the remainder of that fiscal year because it's gonna get reviewed again by the fiscal committee and then the whole board.
I think it's gonna, trying to figure out an amendment, a proposed amendment on this.
Well, I'm trying to,
That was helpful,
language.
no, that was helpful,
Working
but,
on it.
but, you know, this doesn't say, you know, within the budget year, I mean, there's language missing here. And,
Well, you
I
could say,
mean, do you wanna continue, I don't wanna dominate this whole
it's an
conversation.
issue that we need to
so-
resolve. It's Betsy. to-
Okay.
to this
Betsy
issue.
Milton, we could say something like, adjust for unanticipated changes during the course of the fiscal year. Because basically, we're talking about unanticipated, not necessarily emergency, but just unanticipated. And as you say, Paul, they're adjustments,
get
it's
it.
not setting, so.
Sarah, did you follow that?
And just for unanticipated changes during a fiscal year. So just, and so the word set would be replaced with adjust. Authority to adjust tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services.
I mean, you could put unanticipated right after adjust, to adjust unanticipated tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges
Well,
during.
tipping fees, the rates are all anticipated, but it's unanticipated changes. So it's adjust for unanticipated changes to tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services provided. So I think it's to adjust for unanticipated changes during a fiscal year two. Changes during fiscal year two. So the word set is replaced by a phrase.
Can you read that out one more time, and we'll go to
So we
Marty?
would read, the executive director shall have the authority to adjust for unanticipated changes during a fiscal year to tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services provided, etc.
No, it's not unanticipated changes to tipping fees, the syntax isn't right.
Get rid of the word
To
unanticipated.
adjust tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services, to compensate for unanticipated vendor.
We're getting
Right.
very prescriptive. I wonder if Kathy can clarify the need for such prescription, and Margie has her hand raised as well for comment.
Yeah, I mean, we can listen to Marty first before I,
Yeah, let's do that while
Okay.
you're,
yeah,
While
And
you're working on it.
also, I think it has to be clarified that it's limited to that specific fiscal year.
That is what Betsy's suggestion did refer to within the fiscal year.
Let's go to Margie.
Yeah, I guess I would agree that, I mean, I don't think we wanna get too deep in the weeds here, but I'm wondering whether we need to, I mean, I like adjust. I like reference to the fiscal year. Do we need to mention the budget, the fact that these fees are, you know, that the basis for what the changes are from is the budget?
Remember, we do further in the next section, repeat the authority of the board to authorize the budget as well. So budget is a clear responsibility of the board. So Margie, are you saying that you think there should be a reference to the budget in this executive director section 4?
I guess I was wondering whether it would be clearer if, you know, we specifically said that the fees we're talking about changing are the fees that were set in the budget.
There are no fees set outside of the budget, but I hear that it's better to be explicit rather than implicit, perhaps.
Are you okay, Margie?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I just, you know, I think it, yeah, to me, it's just a little bit clearer about how it happens. But it's not a huge thing for me. I just wonder whether it would be clearer.
Lauren, you've got a point.
Yeah, Lauren with Colchester. I saw that there was language that the draft would include information about the executive director's authority to sign certain dollar limits, but then I didn't see that in the draft, but I could be missing something.
That is normally delegated at the annual organizational meeting. It's a good point. So let's see. Yeah, so the executive director in number 2 grants such authority to develop, negotiate contracts, and then up to such dollar amount of expenditures as the board determines from time to time at its annual organizational meeting. So it's referenced in number 2. It'll be a separate authorization.
So can we go back then to the language we have on the under discussion for section number 4?
I can,
Okay.
propose- I was wordsmithing a little bit, trying to pull in stuff from a little bit from what everyone said, so perhaps the language could be amended to read something like, the executive director shall have the authority during the then current fiscal year to make adjustments to the tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services provided at the district's waste management facilities or plants set forth in the budget as a result of unanticipated changes. It's kind of a long run-on sentence, and obviously with the excluding any solid waste charges language. It's a little long and run-on, but that's what I came up with.
Picks up all the major concepts we're trying to.
I think that'll work.
Read it again,
Yes,
please.
so I'll read, so this is the proposed amendment to number 4 under delegation of duties. It's proposed that language be amended to, the executive director shall have the authority during the then current fiscal year to make adjustments to the tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services provided at the district's waste management facilities or plants set forth in the budget as a result of unanticipated changes, excluding any solid waste management fee or tax imposed under board adopted waste management ordinances.
So moved.
So that's an amendment, right?
We are moving an amendment to
Yeah.
the resolution.
And we already did move this along.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, right.
So do we have a second?
Betsy, I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we amend the language of the resolution as was recently read. Discussion.
As seen in past history, if the executive director does something that members of the board are not happy with, they do get brought up very rapidly and discussed fairly well. So I'm not too concerned that the executive director is going to run away with this one.
Right, that was a kind of conversation that we had at the exec board meeting, you know, if we have a rogue director, not necessarily a current executive director, but there are guardrails that could come into play. Leslie?
My concern was not that there would be a rogue executive director or anything. My concern was adequate information and participation buy-in with, for the board.
Yeah.
That was my concern.
And my interest is in protecting or
Right.
thinking of worst-case scenarios. Should we approve language like this, could we find ourselves in a pickle that we did not anticipate? So really talking about two different, we're identified two concerns. Ken, your hand is up, and then we'll go to Lauren.
Was there an indication that without the change that somehow having this delegation in there took power away from the executive board to set the fees in the first place? I think the
Executive director.
from the finance
Executive board.
from the finance committee or whoever originally sets the tipping fees, is this delegation the way it was originally written? You know, I'm thinking if we don't vote for this amendment and we go back to the original resolution, does this delegation cause some sort of a problem? I can't really tell. Other than that, it feels like semantics. I don't have a problem with the word set. I don't need to change it to adjustment. I think they are absolutely the same word, in a sense. So is there a problem with the original language in terms of the way we currently do things?
Well, I think this conversation has identified, we wanted to clarify what that actually implies.
No, what I'm asking is, does the original delegation take away the power, like Alan was saying, the way we normally do things? If we delegate this to Sarah in number 4, does that mean that the finance committee can't set the rate during the budget?
Well, keep in mind that the finance committee is a review committee. It does not have authority of the board to act, to take any actions on behalf of the district. So it is a guiding committee. So staff would bring forward its recommendations for revenues, which all mostly stem from fees.
Yes.
And then they would review that, and then they would generally pick apart the tipping fee section and say, tell us specifically what this fee is and what that fee is.
Right.
Then they can make recommendations to staff to go back and adjust, which we would then do and either bring back to the finance committee for a second review, or it would go straight to the board for your review, where then you get to tell us about those fees. So in essence, when the board approves the budget to be distributed to the cities and towns for their approval, they are then putting their stamp of approval on all of the sources of revenue, which include the fees.
Okay, so number 4, if the original resolution, if passed, everything is exactly the same as we've been doing it.
I think what this is, yes.
Delegation to you, yes, okay. I just want to get, it just seemed very complicated, and whereas I don't think okay.
No, that's a good point, Ken. Yes, essentially, my team and I establish a recommended series of fees that then the board does authorize at their meeting and
and I never seen or don't imagine anybody sneaking anything past the board. I just, so okay.
Before I go to you, Leslie, just to point out that there's language in this resolution under the next section where the executive director shall not have the authority to perform any of the following actions. Item number 8 there, the executive director shall not have the authority
to adopt the budget.
to adopt the budget or an appropriation request or any other material or any material revision to the budget. So I think there's also some guardrails in place, right? She doesn't have unlimited authority to set a budget or the components of the budget.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about guardrails, okay? I could just see, let's say if we go back to COVID, where for some reason you had supply chain issues and you had a real escalation in maybe freight, transportation costs, rapid, large, that if we didn't change the tipping fee, could compromise the budget. So an executive director says, oh my God, we just got these bills I never expected, blah, blah, blah. Next month, the tipping fee is going up by 25%. The board may or may not have been informed about that. That's my concern, that the role of the board vis-a-vis our economic interaction with the community. And I felt that the existing language to your question, Ken, was inadequate.
So we've got,
That's why I raised it.
yeah, we've got the amendment on the table, and you can speak to that if that.
Right, well, Ken wanted to know, well, if we voted against the amendment, what would be the result?
Right.
And I was just trying to explain why
Yeah.
I raised this.
So we have this amendment to the resolution on the floor for discussion. Lauren?
I guess I am wondering, like, what have we seen as a board that we may not see come across our proverbial desks if this passes? Like, what does this change? I'm hearing a lot of it doesn't change things. So what does it change?
Well, for example, and I think this was the concern that was expressed at the exec board level, was that instead of coming for authorization to change a fee, that I could come with notice of a change in a fee. So in the example of the hardcover and shredded books, I would bring to you, hey, this has increased, and this means we're going to need to charge people $1 per load of hardcover books. That may or may not be something that you want to approve. So that would be an instance where if I needed to come to the board for your approval, if there was an emergency, I would ask to, I would seek an emergency board meeting. If there was something that was critical and had to happen within a week. More often than not, we will receive maybe at least 30 days notice of a fee increase, which generally will fit within timeline for holding a board meeting. But that could be something, that would be the change, I would make that call to say, yes, this is something that we can't absorb within our operational budget, and we are going to increase this particular fee on this line item. And then in my executive director update, I would inform you of such.
Okay, so to ask another example, sorry, I'm just trying to understand this exactly. Because I also wasn't expecting to approve it tonight, so I'm just trying to go with the flow. For example, like the Green Mountain Power invoice that we approved earlier, would that still show up? Or would that be something that would be like operational day-to-day, would be approved without board approval?
No, number one, that is a contract. And it exceeds my spending authority. So my spending authority is $50,000 and the executive board's authority is $100,000. So anything over 50 has to go either to the exec board or the full board.
Okay. Thanks, that's helpful.
And that example is also not related to tip fees.
It's not a fee.
Right, but also the delegation, like the duties aren't just about fees too, right? It's about day-to-day operations, including fees, but not just fees.
But it still doesn't, I still have a spending limit.
Yep. Okay,
which is set annually at the organizational meeting.
Yep.
And reset every year.
got it.
So again, we have an we're discussing the amendment to the resolution. Paul,
I just say, I will vote in favor of the amendment. I do think it's a helpful clarification as written by our counsel here. So personally, I will be voting for it.
would you mind reading it one more time for us,
Yes,
please?
I will read it. So this is the proposed amendment to number 4 under the delegation of duties in the resolution that was included in the board packet. The proposed amendment is to change that section to read, the executive director shall have the authority during the then current fiscal year to make adjustments to the tipping fees, disposal charges, or similar rates and charges for services provided at the district's waste management facilities or plants set forth in the budget as a result of unanticipated changes, excluding any solid waste management fee or tax imposed under board adopted waste management ordinances.
So that is what we'll be voting on.
Yes.
Proceed, no further discussion on the proposed amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the amendment carries, and we're back now then to the original resolution with this new language inserted under item number 4. Is there further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the amended resolution, please say aye.
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 Say nay. Any abstentions? Resolution is approved and the authorities were clearly delegated to the executive director. Thank you very much for everybody's discussion and thoughtfulness on this and looking at it from all different angles.
Thank you for the discussion, the conversation, and I think it was very, very helpful and it certainly helps clarify things for me and for any future executive director, I believe. Thank you very much.
We are now ready to move on to item number 7, which is executive session to deal with legal proceedings and personnel matters. We have a resolution, please.
Well, were we going to talk about the ordinance first? Ordinance changes?
I'm sorry, did I? Oh, I missed it, I'm sorry.
Ordinance
Proposed, I'm
change.
sorry, I totally jumped over that. Excuse me. We're on to item number 6, proposed ordinance changes. And I believe we'll have Joey address us on that. Thank you.
Yes, please.
So compliance staff have identified 3 sections of the solid waste management ordinance that we would like to amend. These changes close an identified loophole in section 310, an expansion of education requirements for landlords of commercial properties, and then a technical change for hauler licensing in section 4. I won't go through the entire memo, but I am happy to answer any and all questions on the changes as we have proposed them. So right now, basically all we are asking for is just the board to review this, approve us going out for public comment to see if anyone has anything to say. And then at the next board meeting, we will present it for the board to vote on the proposed changes. And then that will trigger section 24 VSA 1972, which we will then have to do press releases, outreach to town offices, and a couple other requirements that go along with ordinance changes. And if all goes well, then 60 days from then, we can implement this change.
Any questions for Joey? Yes.
Sticker on vehicles. I thought we had a discussion maybe about a year ago that we deleted the stickers on vehicles because of some reason that I couldn't remember, but I know that we had, or I believe we had a very, had a discussion on removing the requirement for stickers on vehicles.
So that must have been before my time.
Actually, no.
We removed the requirement of both sides to have just be on one side.
Both sides of
You only got half right.
Yeah, halfway there. Right, so right now, current practice, we have stickers. They are all we do a different color every year, that's how we identify that they're new and the year is on them. The ordinance as it was written, I guess we used to have custom random numbering for each vehicle. Instead, we just use a vehicle license plate for our tracking system now. So we don't do that, and this is just to adjust the ordinance to have the number of that vehicle removed.
Clarifies for you. Betsy, did you want to?
I was just gonna say, it was less than a year because I was here for that discussion. So I do remember voting.
Time just flies by.
Yeah. So I do
Okay.
remember voting on it, but I guess this is to make it in the ordinance? Is that the difference or no?
I don't have any recollection of there ever being two-sided stickers, so I don't know, Josh? do you have
No,
any
it's
idea?
about the numbers, getting rid of the numbers.
Oh, we might have had the discussion.
Yeah.
We had a discussion.
Got it. Well, this is just to make it official then.
Right, so we had brought it forward previously for, just to kind of let you know that ordinance changes were coming, and we mentioned that we had gotten rid of the numbers, so you haven't voted on any changes yet. Katie has some good experience with this.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody remembers, but I was the enforcement coordinator from 2007 to 2017. So I remember issuing decals to haulers every year. Every license plate was assigned to a different CSWD hauler license identification number. I had to match up license plate numbers with hauler ID numbers, and they were both on both sides of the truck. That was an important part of the ordinance decals, that they were on both sides. So I completely understand wanting to not do that anymore, because it was literally the bane of my existence for a long time working at CSWD, is making sure the numbers match the hauler license plates. So that was a lot of time that I spent on that. So Joey, I'm very thrilled that you no longer have to take care of that task. Thank goodness for that. Anything to make it easier for somebody to identify that they're new this year. And I mean, I think that's all you can really ask for. So I would like to see the decal still on there. That means that somebody is making sure that they're, following all the ordinance regulations and whatnot. So I would still like to see the decals if that's still on the table. Is this to?
Yeah, no, to be very clear, this is just to remove the individualized numbered decals and just have the standard CSWD decal that we did at least for the last 2 years.
Yeah, fully support that. It's a lot of time to administrative busy work. So Joey, 100% got your back on this one.
So to be clear, tonight we're asking the board to allow us to initiate the public comment period. So this will come back to you again after we have heard from the public. We send out this information to interested parties. So in this case, we would send it out to our haulers so that they would have an opportunity to review the changes and provide any comment that they may have. When we do bring this back, when Joey brings this back, any comments that are received will be summarized in that memo back to you so that you have awareness of what the public may have had to say about the changes.
So there's language of a motion in this memo, and I believe there's one word that needs to be changed. So I believe the motion should be to authorize CSWD staff to seek public comment on proposed changes to sections 3.10 and 4.8 of the Solid Waste Management Ordinance.
Yes, thank you.
Move Jericho.
Second, Westford.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to authorize CSWD staff to seek public comment on proposed changes to the Solid Waste Management Ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously, and let the process begin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, I think we're ready to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing legal proceedings and personnel.
And also, Paul, I have real estate transactions as well.
I'm sorry, what?
Real estate transactions.
Right, thank you. Do we have language?
Yes, I can read that. Motion that the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District go into executive session to discuss legal proceedings, personnel, and real estate transactions where premature general public knowledge would clearly place the district, its member municipalities, and other public bodies or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage, and to permit authorized staff and other invited interested parties to be present for this session.
So moved, Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we enter into executive session. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? It's unanimous. We will now enter into executive session using the link that Sarah sent out to the Zoom folks earlier this afternoon.
Oh, I'm gonna use 7:10 as the time.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, thank you. We're now back in public session, and I would like to entertain the following motion, which would be the board hereby delegates to the chair of the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District the authority to modify the time off and vacation schedule for the executive director for the current year in such manner that the chair finds to be in the best interests of the district.
So moved.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the chair be authorized to modify the executive director's time off and vacation schedule for this current year. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. I appreciate the authority you've granted to me on this matter. We're now ready to move on to item number 8, which is other business. The first item under other business that we want to discuss would be scheduling the budget hearing. And Sarah had sent out a memo earlier today, or email earlier today with information about that, and I'll turn it over to you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you. And as I sent out this, actually thinking your son needs to adjust the volume in the room. I was hearing some feedback. Thank you. We made a mistake and we forgot to warn the fiscal 27 budget hearing for tonight's meeting. The charter does say that we need to have this public hearing on our next year's budget by January 31st. This did happen one other time in our history in 2005. And in looking back at those meeting minutes, it appears that there was an attempt to have the public hearing at the January meeting, but apparently at the time it also was not warned properly. So what ended up happening was the budget hearing was held the next month in February. So what we sent around to the board today was Kathy's recommendation for a resolution for the budget hearing. It is fairly lengthy. It is not like what we have done before in the past as far as warning our budgets. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it this way. I think we need to do it this way. This is on advice of our council. And just to let the board know that this is a slight departure from the norm. But again, this is something that I think we do need to do. There are a series of whereases where it cites describes the district. It cites our powers under our charter. It says that we must call a hearing of the residents of the municipalities. And it says that the board wishes to schedule the public hearing for the February 25th meeting of the board, and that this resolution authorizes that the hearing be warned in accordance with the charter, meaning in accordance with the responsibilities set forth by the charter for the board. And then there is a resolution. So the resolution does attach a warning to be published per the requirements. It also says copy of proposed budget to be included. That copy of proposed budget to be included is to be included with the notice of the meeting, with the warning. And we do that as that is how we have proceeded 30 plus years. Paul, would you like to have some conversation about?
Yeah, just to clarify, at this point in the budget process, the full in-depth review of the budget has not yet occurred.
Correct.
Had we had this hearing scheduled for tonight, the presentation would have been based on the preliminary draft budget, which we voted on accepting, I believe, at the December meeting.
It was the November meeting.
The November meeting. So I just wanted the commissioners to be aware, this is not a full depth review by the public of our final proposed budget. It would be a review, opportunity to have a hearing on the original preliminary budget.
Correct. And the Finance Committee will be meeting on February 11th to do their in-depth review.
Are there any questions about the proposed resolution to schedule the public budget hearing for to occur at the same time as our February 25th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Commissioners? I'm not hearing any. As Sarah mentioned, this is a very lengthy resolution, which I trust everybody has received and had a chance to read. And again, the key element of this is the scheduling of the public hearing for February 25th, 2026.
Kathy, question for you, is it sufficient for the board to, how should they move this, basically?
Yeah, so I can provide some context. This is a little bit more formal than I think what you typically do. And part of that is because this is kind of an odd situation where your charter says that you need to do something by January 31st, and there's just no time to do that. And so we wanted to have the resolution recognize that we're doing some, that the board recognized that there is a delay and we're intentionally moving the hearing to the next board meeting. The other part of it is I was kind of operating under the model of this is usually what municipalities do when they warn like a public hearing in connection with, a vote on certain items. So I would ask that, I think the request would be for the board to adopt the resolution as presented in Sarah's email.
And then we would post this to our website as well as part of the revised packet. So just like when we post the draft minutes, same thing. We put that on the meeting notes so that this language can be in the public realm as well.
Move the board adopt the resolution as presented.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt this resolution as presented in the email distributed to the Board of Commissioners earlier today, January 28th, 2026. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you very much. And we look forward to having the public hearing then in February. There was another item related to the budget, and I'm just going to turn it over to Paul Stabler for a moment as chair of the Finance Committee.
It's been mentioned several times, but yes, the Finance Committee will hold their annual day-long retreat to listen to the staff present the proposed budget on February 11th in this room at 9 a.m. It usually lasts till around 3:30. And you're all encouraged to attend. It's if you really want to find out more how the district operates, this is a great way to find that out because a lot more detail will be presented. And again, the Finance Committee is just making a recommendation. We'll usually ask for some clarification from staff or maybe suggest a few changes. But again, of course, the budget comes to the full board for approval. So anyway, encourage everyone, if you have time, attend.
And you can attend via Zoom.
Yes, you can. But you'll miss lunch.
You're welcome to. We will provide lunch.
So that was just a point of information with a sincere invitation to join us. Is there any other business to be brought before the Board of Commissioners this evening?
Move we adjourn.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Stay warm.